Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. You know that moment when your partner comes up with an idea so off the wall that you can't help but laugh or maybe roll your eyes? That's exactly what happened to me. My husband and I have always had this playful, friendly bond where we joke around, push each other's buttons, and sometimes dare each other to do the most unexpected things. But this time, he was serious. At first, I thought he was just messing with me. I even told him, "There's no way I'm doing that. I mean, who in their right mind would say yes to something that sounds so crazy?" But something about his expression stopped me. Same restaurants, same Friday night shows, same how was your day convos. Nothing wrong with comfort, right? But he said something that caught me off guard. What if we're just living on autopilot? What if doing something a little wild, something unpredictable, could remind us how to feel excited again? Now, I'm all for trying new things. But his idea, let's just say it was the kind of suggestion that makes you pause, raise an eyebrow, and say, "Are you serious right now?" Still, curiosity is a powerful thing. So there I was, sitting at the edge of our bed, holding my phone, staring at the text message he sent me with all the details. My heart was racing, not because I was scared, but because a part of me wanted to go through with it. I didn't know where it would lead. Would it bring us closer? Would it cause an awkward mess? Would I regret it? Or would this be the beginning of something unforgettable? That's where our story really begins. A simple conversation turned into a wild ride filled with laughter, nerves, and some completely unexpected turns. What I once brushed off as a ridiculous idea slowly unraveled into something beautiful, eye-opening, and yes, a little bit crazy. You'll meet us not as some perfect couple with all the answers, but as two ordinary people trying to bring a spark back into their lives in the most unconventional way. You'll see moments of doubt, a few awkward stumbles, and surprising discoveries that even we didn't see coming. Now here's where I leave you hanging, because just when I thought I knew what I was getting into, something happened that changed everything. But tell me, have you ever gone along with a wild idea just to see where it might lead? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you say yes to your spouse's crazy plan? Or would you play it safe? Vote in the poll and let's see who's braver in love. Speech balloon sparkling heart, stay tuned, the story's just getting started. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept circling back to that text from my husband. I kept rereading it, trying to make sense of why he thought this wild idea of his was even remotely okay. It wasn't dangerous or anything, just bold. Way outside our comfort zone. And honestly, that's what scared me the most. We weren't always this predictable. When we first met, we were spontaneous, full of energy. Midnight drives just to get ice cream, impromptu road trips with no maps, dancing in the kitchen like no one was watching. But somewhere along the way, between work deadlines, bills, and the general weight of adulting, we got comfortable. Maybe too comfortable. He noticed it first. I remember he once told me, "I miss the old us. I miss the crazy things we used to do without overthinking." I brushed it off at the time, thinking it was just a passing feeling. But now I see, he really meant it. So back to that text. His plan was simple on the surface, but emotionally risky. It involved doing something we've never done before, something that required a bit of pretending, a bit of role-playing, and a lot of trust. And even though it sounded harmless in theory, it felt like a doorway into something much deeper. Maybe even a little dangerous to the balance we'd gotten used to. I wasn't ready to give an answer right away. Instead, I decided to test the waters. That morning at breakfast, I casually brought it up, trying to play it cool. "So, about that idea you texted me last night. Were you serious?" He looked up from his coffee, eyes twinkling like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Completely serious," he said, without hesitation. "But only if you're comfortable. We don't have to do anything you're not okay with." That answer made me pause. He wasn't pushing me, he was inviting me. Like handing me the keys to a new version of us, if I was willing to drive. Still, I didn't say yes. Not yet. Over the next few days, I started noticing little changes. He was more affectionate. He'd hug me out of nowhere, leave little notes on the bathroom mirror, even cooked dinner one night, something he hadn't done in weeks. It was like he was preparing us, softening the space between us before we took the leap. And I'll admit, part of me started to get excited. But then, out of nowhere, something happened that shook me. I overheard him on the phone late at night, in the other room. His voice was low, serious. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught enough to feel a knot form in my stomach. He said my name. Then something about her not being ready yet. My mind went spinning. Who was he talking to? Was this all really just for us, or was something else going on behind the scenes? Suddenly, what started out as a quirky idea between two bored spouses started to feel bigger. Maybe even secretive. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but my gut was starting to stir. Was this idea really just about reigniting the spark? Or was there something else I didn't know? What would you do if your partner suddenly wanted to shake things up in a big way? Would you go along with it, or start asking more questions? Let me know in the comments, and stick around. The truth behind his plan might surprise you more than it did me. The next few days were weird. Not bad, not good, just filled with this odd tension hanging in the air, like we were both waiting for something to happen but pretending everything was normal. I still hadn't brought up what I overheard that night. I kept replaying it in my head, wondering if I misunderstood, if maybe I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew something didn't feel right. My husband kept acting like everything was fine. Too fine, actually. He was overly sweet, almost like he was trying to distract me from asking more questions. And I couldn't help but notice how often he checked his phone, quickly flipping the screen down whenever I walked into the room. That wasn't like him. Meanwhile, I kept thinking about the original idea, the one that kicked all this off. It had sounded adventurous at first, maybe even romantic in a strange way. But now, with all these little red flags popping up, I didn't know what to believe. Was this still about us trying something new to reconnect, or was it covering up something else entirely? Then came the twist I really didn't expect. I got a message. An unknown number. It said, "You're not the only one." That was it. No name. No context. Just those words. My heart dropped. Was this a joke? A mistake? Or was it connected to the call I overheard? I didn't show him the message right away. I needed time to figure out what was happening, and most of all, I needed to know if I could still trust him. While all this was swirling in my head, life on the outside kept moving. We went to dinner with friends, smiled for pictures, held hands in public. But behind closed doors, it was like we were walking around each other, both pretending not to notice the growing space between us. I wanted to ask him everything about the phone call, the text message, what exactly his plan was, but every time I tried, I'd back down. Part of me was afraid of what I'd hear. The thing is, we've always been the couple that talks. We never used to hide things. So why did this feel so different now? One night, while he was out supposedly running errands, I decided to dig a little. I know, invading privacy is a bad move in a marriage. But I needed answers. I opened his laptop, something he never password protected before, but now, suddenly, it was locked. A new password. That said everything. I couldn't stop the thoughts now. Was he planning something behind my back? Was there someone else involved in this idea, or worse, in our relationship? As I sat there staring at that locked screen, my stomach twisted. Maybe I was overthinking, or maybe I was about to discover something that would change everything. What do you think I should do? Should I confront him directly or wait to gather more clues? Comment below with what you'd do in my place, or if you think there's more to this story than even I can see yet. Trust me, things are about to take a very unexpected turn. The locked laptop haunted me for the rest of the night. I sat there on the couch, the TV flickering in the background, but I wasn't watching. My mind was spinning. My husband never kept secrets, at least, not that I knew of. We'd always had this unspoken understanding that honesty was our safe space. But now, there were walls forming, silent ones, and I didn't know how high they went. He came home later than usual. Said traffic was a mess and held up a bag of groceries like proof. He kissed my cheek and asked if I wanted tea. I said no, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside, I was watching his every move. He didn't mention anything about the laptop. He probably didn't know I tried to open it. Or maybe he did. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Every little noise made me sit up. The sound of his breathing next to me used to be comforting, now it just made me feel distant, like we were lying in the same bed but living in separate stories. And then, around 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. I didn't look right away. I waited until he turned over, half asleep. My heart was pounding as I picked it up. One unread message. It was from the same unknown number. This time it said, "She's starting to figure it out." I froze. My whole body went cold. I put the phone back before he noticed and laid there, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. What was going on? Who was messaging him? Was this some elaborate game? Or was I slowly becoming the outsider in my own relationship? The next morning, I decided to play it cool. I smiled, I laughed at his jokes, I acted like nothing was wrong. I needed him to think I wasn't onto anything. I needed to observe, to watch more closely. He was hiding something, I just didn't know what it was yet. Later that afternoon, I took a walk to clear my head. Just around the block, nothing major. But when I turned the corner near the park, I saw something, or rather, someone, that made me stop in my tracks. It was my husband. He was standing under a tree, talking to a woman I didn't recognize. They weren't holding hands or anything, but they were close. Too close. The way she leaned in when she spoke, the way he looked around nervously, it wasn't just casual. I ducked behind a car, my heart racing. I didn't want to believe it, but every instinct in me screamed that this wasn't innocent. Was she part of his little plan? Was she the one texting me? I snapped a quick photo, not to accuse, not yet. Just to have it. Proof. In case this spiraled into something bigger. I walked back home, trying to act normal, but everything inside me felt like it was unraveling. I didn't know what was real anymore. The idea, the calls, the messages, the woman. Was I being lied to this whole time? If you were me, would you confront him now or wait until you knew everything? Comment below and tell me what you'd do. Because whatever this is, it's about to explode. I didn't sleep that night either. My thoughts kept circling around that photo, the image of my husband with that woman under the tree. I zoomed in on her face again and again, trying to recognize something familiar. Nothing. She was a complete stranger. And yet, something about the way they interacted didn't feel like a random conversation. There was history there. Or something being planned. But what? By morning, I had made up my mind. I wouldn't confront him directly, not yet. I needed to know more. I needed the truth, not just suspicions. So I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in a long time, my best friend from college, Danielle. She's smart, grounded, and most importantly, she's a therapist. I thought maybe she could help me untangle this mess, or at least help me untangle myself from it. We met for coffee, and as soon as I showed her the photo, her face changed. She stared at it a little too long before finally speaking. "I know her," she said, her voice low. "That's Kelsey. We used to work at the same practice a few years back." My stomach turned. "Do you know if is she married? Dating someone?" Danielle hesitated. "Last I heard, she was leading these couples' intimacy retreats. Like, off-the-grid weekend events that focus on reconnecting and rebuilding relationships. It's her thing now." I stared at her, confused. "Wait, what?" Danielle nodded. "She designs these immersive experiences for couples. But they're intense. Role-play, mystery tasks, hidden challenges, secret clues. It's all supposed to lead to some kind of emotional breakthrough. And just like that, everything snapped into place. The text. The secrecy. The plan. The locked laptop. Even that message, she's starting to figure it out. What if this was part of the idea all along? What if my husband wasn't betraying me, but leading me through some kind of elaborate, emotional test? But why wouldn't he tell me? Why go through all this effort in secret? I felt a mix of relief and fresh anxiety. If this really was part of the plan, then I'd been living inside it without knowing. Being watched. Being studied. Every reaction, every doubt, every emotional crack, was it all expected? When I got home that night, I looked at him differently. He was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone, acting like nothing was off. And for a moment, I wondered, did he know I'd followed him? Did he know I'd seen Kelsey? The line between love and deception had never felt thinner. I started wondering if I should play along, see how far this goes. Or if I should blow the whole thing up and demand answers. But what if stopping it now ruins something beautiful he was trying to build for us? I'm caught between suspicion and hope. So here's the real question for you: if your partner was secretly testing the strength of your relationship, would you want to know, or would you rather be surprised by the outcome? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I have a feeling things are about to get even more complicated. I decided to go along with it. If this whole thing was part of some intense relationship test, some emotional maze my husband had carefully crafted, then fine. I'd walk through every step. But this time, I'd keep my eyes open. That weekend, he told me we were going away. Just a little getaway, he said, grinning like he had a secret he could barely hold in. I just nodded, pretending not to know what I knew. Inside, I was bracing myself for whatever was coming. We drove for a couple of hours before pulling up to this quiet, woodsy retreat center. It looked peaceful on the outside, but I could feel the tension building in my chest. There were candles lit along the path, little notes with cryptic messages, and a welcome board with our names on it. The message read, "When love is tested, the truth is revealed." The weekend was filled with carefully crafted challenges. Personal letters we had to write to each other. Games that forced us to reflect on our relationship. Long silences where we weren't allowed to speak, only observe each other. And then, the final night came. That's when everything exploded. We were taken to a small cabin lit with nothing but lanterns. Inside, there were 2 chairs facing each other and a sealed envelope on the table between them. Open together, the note said. He looked at me, a nervous smile on his face. "You trust me?" he asked. I hesitated, then nodded. "Do you trust me?" I countered. His smile faded a bit. "I hope so." We opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Written by him. But not recent, it was dated almost 2 months ago. In it, he admitted he felt us drifting apart. That he was scared we were becoming strangers. That he'd secretly signed us up for Kelsey's retreat because he wanted to do something bold before we lost each other completely. He said if I made it to the end, if I didn't walk away, he'd know we had a real shot at starting over. I stared at him, heart pounding. All this time, all the secrecy, the messages, the mystery, it wasn't about betrayal. It was about saving us. It was his way of saying don't give up on me yet. Tears welled up in my eyes. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to scream at him for making me doubt everything. But instead, I reached across the table and held his hand. We didn't need to say much after that. We just sat there, holding on like people who almost let go, but didn't. But just when I thought the story was over, it wasn't. As we packed up to leave the next morning, my phone buzzed again. Another message. Same unknown number. This time it read, "You passed." But he didn't tell you everything. I froze. Wait, what? What didn't he tell me? Comment below, what do you think is still being hidden? Do I confront him? Or do I let the past stay buried? Because maybe, the real twist hasn't happened yet. The message sat on my screen like a warning sign. You passed. But he didn't tell you everything. My heart, which had just begun to settle, now pounded again with fresh anxiety. I didn't know if I was supposed to feel scared, betrayed, or just curious. I looked at him, still packing our bags, humming like he had no idea another twist had just landed in our story. I waited until we were back home to bring it up. I simply asked, "Was there more to this retreat than you told me?" He paused. That silence said everything. Finally, he sat down, took a deep breath, and said, "Yes. There's one thing I didn't include in that letter. Something I wasn't sure how to explain without ruining the point of the experience." I stared at him, unsure whether to feel angry or patient. He continued, "I had help. I asked Kelsey to stage a few moments, like the call, the texts, even that meeting under the tree. It was all part of a script designed to push your emotions and force you to feel deeply again. I wanted you to fight for us. I wanted to see if we still had that spark when things got real, when trust was tested." I didn't say anything for a long time. I was trying to process the layers of what he'd done. Part of me felt manipulated. The other part, shockingly, understood. Because if I was being honest, I had felt something. Through all the tension, the confusion, the doubt, I felt alive again. More connected to him than I'd been in months. It was risky. Reckless. But it worked. Still, I needed to say it. "Next time, just talk to me. You don't need to turn our marriage into a mystery novel." He smiled gently. "I promise. No more secret missions." We both laughed a little. And in that moment, I knew we'd come out of this stronger, not because we avoided the cracks, but because we faced them. We saw the broken parts and chose to mend them instead of walking away. We've started a new routine now. No more guessing games. We go on long walks. Leave each other little handwritten notes. Not because someone told us to, but because we want to. Because we remembered why we chose each other in the first place. So to anyone watching, if your relationship feels distant or unfamiliar, don't wait for it to fix itself. Talk. Be honest. Or maybe, be bold, even if it sounds a little crazy. And now, I really want to know, how did you feel about the ending? Did it surprise you? Would you ever go through something like this to save a relationship? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you want a sequel, you might just get one.